All right, back live with you tonight, you're in Focus, and thanks for staying on. South Africans will be spoiled for choice during next year's elections, with the most amount of parties on record expected to contest. Over 1,500 independent candidates are also expected to partake in the vote. Let's unpack this with the African Independent Congress spokesperson, Rev Mxolisi Jerome Koom, Jama-ah Leader Ganief Hendricks, and United Independent Movement President Neil de Beer. You can also weigh in tonight on our conversations, and the number is 072-110-5584. Otherwise, you can drop us your messages on X at Newzroom 405. Let's begin with you, Jama-ah. Ganief, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. The competition, right, political competition that we are currently seeing for positions in the South African Parliament. Others are saying it makes for holding government accountable, while others are saying, well, I was speaking to Bazima Shilowa earlier on, saying this peace, check here, is not really going to diminish the mass and the support of the African National Congress. How do you see it?
Look, the ANC will get their normal voters who hasn't been disillusioned. So they will get a substantial amount of the vote at national level and in many provinces. They will even do a bit better in the Western Cape because of their position on Palestine. Although the government has a different position to the ANC, that must still be unpacked. But we think that the African National Congress will get 50% plus one. That is the number crunching that Jama-ah has done. And so we also feel that Jama-ah will do very well.
Yeah.
As you know, we only have a MPL seat in the Western Cape. We have now been working in 3 other provinces, and we are very bullish that we will also get a seats in those provinces because we've been working the ground. However, the Western Cape is a particular challenge because we want to remove the Democratic Alliance. This is now at provincial level. As you know, we removed them at municipal level in Joburg.
Yeah.
After we had an 18-month plan to do so. So we already into 2 years planning to remove the DA at provincial level in the Western Cape. But Jama-ah, we don't have the numbers, so we will co-govern like we co-govern the city of Joburg with 9 other parties. We feel in the Western Cape we can co-govern with other parties.
Right.
I've engaged many of them. Yeah. I've engaged Marius Fransman.
Yeah.
We have engaged other popular leaders in the Western Cape and hope they return to politics.
Okay.
I've even engaged Mandla Mandela and told him that our research shows that you have a lot of support in the Western Cape. Why don't you become Jama-ah's premier candidate?
I'm going to come back to that question of support, Ganief. Let's bring in Neil here a little bit as well. Neil, good to have you. Should we accept where we are sitting, as Ganief says, that the 2024 elections are going to introduce alliance governance? Others are saying that goodbye to the stability of national government that we have come to enjoy at least over the last 3 decades.
Molweni Tabu. Salam, goeienaand. The country is now looking at bated breath because every time I speak, they can't wait what comes out of my mouth. So here it comes.
We can't wait.
Ready for it?
We are ready for it. You are ready for it. Come.
Abu, in Afrikaans sê ons hierdie land is nou statig moer toe. This is Afrikaans.
Yeah.
In English, this country has come to the point where we are rehashing politicians just under new names. We have an ANC, which I belong to, for 32 years, which is now coming to the prophecy of O.R. Tambo, where he said, the only people that can destroy the ANC is the ANC themselves, and they're doing a bloody good job of doing so. We have a president that is like a jellyfish, sitting around and taking consequent decisions, and has lost, unfortunately, the respect not only of the people of this country, but globally. We have RETs and PTTs and ANCs and DTTs. And yesterday, an ex-president of the ANC distinguished himself by supporting a new breakaway faction of the ANC.
Yeah.
That makes it now two presidents, Tabu, ex-presidents who have removed themselves to support an ANC under Ramaphosa.
Yeah.
Now let me quickly tell you, beware of the small party. The Springboks taught us that you can win with +1. Yes?
Right.
+1. This country will go to battle next year to take 50 +1. I am part of now the multi-party charter in this country. Not the only charter and the alliances that are being formed, as Ganief said. We are 8 parties consequentially sitting in a charter and awaiting to storm ahead to form 50 +1 next year. No person on earth can deny that without energy and power, the economy falling apart, the absolute excuses, I mean, I said yesterday, the Minister of Electricity, he just had one job. Now suddenly we are sitting with companies that are going to shut down, to reduce. We've got a failing Minister of Police. Crime rate is escalating. Tabu, how much more can this little country take? So the answer is easy. We've had, before 94, a singular party governing. We've now had a second party for 30 years governing, and we can say what we want. There was no opposition. There was no factual democracy in Parliament. And now you've got us as the small parties coming in. Democracy is now coming to the Republic of South Africa.
Yeah.
We will have many choices,
right.
Multiple people coming to stand, and I'm looking forward to that year's battle to change this country to a true democracy, which we fought for, by the way.
All right. Rev Koom, good to have you, and thank you very much
thank you so
for coming. Democracy, as Neil puts it, in its narrow sense, is expected to enhance political competition. That in turn should be welfare enhancing for the citizen. But is it really going to do that with the small pockets of parties that are going to win a sit here, sit there, sit here, sit there, as opposed to parties of this varying nature coming under one banner and actually putting together a patriotic front more than just a voting bloc?
First of all, let me say compliment and thank you for inviting us as the African Independent Congress. And then would like to say to the South Africans, be safe wherever you are in your holiday times. And then coming to the question that you are asking, you see, multipartism is part of democratization. And what is the moral fiber that would set apart any political party is the rare epitome of honest politics, where that kind of rare epitome would be the kind of people-centered government. We have seen it from the experience that politics that are egocentric, that are self-serving, that are based on cartelism, so to speak, politics that would be aloof from the interest of the people, such politics are signing their own death penalty. So what would be the deciding factor would be either than the competition, as we put it in the broader canvas of politics, because there are many participants. But for us, is the content, either than competition, is the content. What are we bringing into the broader platter of democracy of the South African communities?
Right.
So for us, it's a victory because it's what we voted for. We voted for democracy. And therefore, it would be a denial of history if democracy wouldn't come to the level of multipartism. Remember, power corrupts. Once power is not evenly spread across, that is a bait for the corruption of power. It's going to produce dictatorship. It's going to be a trail of corruption. You see? And in that context, it defeats the very purpose that it was supposed to. So for where we are sitting, we applaud. We don't abhor. We applaud the developments that are happening there. And also, our people will be spoilt with a variety of choices. I'm not a spokesperson of the ruling party.
Okay.
I'm a spokesperson of the African Independent Congress.
Right.
Therefore, I think the right question would be, what am I bringing into the platter of democracy?
I'm going to come to that in a moment. But
yes, okay.
Ganief, are we making a meal out of this situation of multipartism when, in fact, you would know in the city of Johannesburg that the political competition there has resulted into rather complex outcomes that, in honesty, have not been for the enhancement of the welfare of the people of the city of Johannesburg in most instances?
Look, I don't agree with you there. I sat down with the Premier. We agreed on 20 accelerated programs. We looked at the line items. We looked at the deliverables. And on the same day that the Democratic Alliance tried to collapse the city of Joburg and create instability and waste people's time, there was a progress report on the 20 accelerated programs. Now, I know 20 is not many. There's possibly 300 accelerated programs that we need to do to cure the mess of the Action SA and the Democratic Alliance. So we agreed on 20, and I'm so glad that we got thumbs up for all 20 accelerated programs. Our mayor visited these programs nearly every day, slipped out for an hour or two to check that it's going well, reported back to me that we're on track. So I wasn't surprised that the small victories that we are achieving in the city of Joburg is going to be further accelerated in the next year. So our mayor is there to stay until 2/24 Thabo. I know you thought we were going to last a month or a few weeks. But
the reason for that is that in a space of 3 months, we saw at least 4 mayors going in and out of the city of Johannesburg. And one would say that does not make for responsiveness.
2 of them died.
And the other 3 that have been coming in and out because of motions of no confidence?
Look, that is a DA and Action SA. That was part of our plan. That was well planned. We got rid of the DA, we got rid of Action SA, we got rid of the Speaker, we got rid of their chief whip, and we got rid of their mayor. And now we're doing the hard work. Like I said, you saw the support the co-governing parties got, and also the thumbs up for the 20 accelerated programs. But I told the mayor, 20, there's much, much more to be done. You can't just rest on your laurels now.
Yeah.
And, he works around the clock. He doesn't even have time for party work.
Yeah.
And now that there is some recess, I'm making him do party work.
Yeah.
And we are, we are looking forward to now focusing on party work. So when the council resumes, we can then make Joburg an iconic city again.
Okay.
And identify 40 accelerated programs this time.
All right. Let's hold it there. Neil, come in for us here. I mean, in terms of policy responsiveness, right? How are we going to achieve, for example, something as critical as transformation in this country, where you would have parties coming together that have varying policy positions, for example, on something like a broad-based economic empowerment? Please unmute there for us, please.
Sorry, I'm still old generation. I'm still on the fax machine. Tabu, to balance an economy, you must count. You must be able to count. I think that's the first prerogative. People in this country are dramatically hurtful of programs and projects and manifestos and promises and discussions and committees. And it's hurtful, man. We are tired. Now, I didn't enter politics to be a person that's a politician that talks about programs and projects. 2023 NDPs and NDIs. The people of this country have drawn a line. And I'll tell you what the people of this country want. They want jobs, Tabu, Sebenza, Nomsanje. And they want justice. There it is. Hear me well? They want jobs in this country and they want justice. There you heard it from me. They are not interested in failures. They are not interested in parliamentary debates and points of orders. The people of this country, no matter the race, no matter the religion, no matter your history, the people of this country are united in one thing only. That change must come, and it's not going to just be politicians that change this country because they failed us. Now, a businessman like me has to come back into politics so that we can speak only 3 languages. 1, the truth. 2, what are we going to do about it? And 3, can we unite as a united country to get things done? Now, Tabu, when you look at an average person, he wants his lawn mowed, he wants his sewage taken care of, he wants water, he wants electricity, he wants his rubbish removed, and those are the basics that the average person, surely me, that I'm concerned. How can you do this when nearly 70% of the municipalities in this country are bankrupt? How do we start there?
Yeah. So you're saying your election promise is not going to be based on fancy policies and so on and so forth.
No.
You just going to base it on the basic service delivery issues that people should vote for you on.
Absolutely. Jobs and justice. Sort out the crime, stop corruption, put people in jail, make the criminals suffer, and then create an economy where we can stimulate the jobs of the country, which gives you all of this to one word: dignity. This country is hedging on looking at itself and being an abused child. We've got to restore dignity. And here's the point. May I finish on my point? Politics can only take you so far. In the days of the struggle, it was the people like the Ellen Busacks that stood up and fought internally. So what am I saying? We need society organizations to join us and to turn this country around. We can't do this alone.
Hacking, of course, still with the smaller parties. The African Independent Congress spokesperson Rev Mxolisi Jerome Koom with me here in the studio. Our Jama-ah Leader Ganief Hendricks, as well as United Independent Movement President Neil de Beer. Rev, 2 things that I want you to answer on as you're making us your value proposition. 1, how are you going to improve the capacity of government, as Neil puts it, to effectively deliver and formulate policies? 2, how are you going to ensure a dignity for citizens, but also respect for institutions that govern our economic and social interaction?
Okay. Thank you very much for these questions. 1, you would remember that there are 3 spheres of government. And the question becomes then, how do we make government a mobile government so that the people have got a feel of their government on a daily basis. So then how do you do that? You do that by right deployment, by right people that are patriotic in their nature, and also by the programs that explain the product of government. Because you'll find out, mostly in service delivery protest, that the people do not know what falls where. For an example, people would demand housing from municipality, whilst housing is a competence of the national government. So it simply tells you that you've got a community that does not understand the very setup of their own government. So you've got to have the programs that are empowering, that you introduce the product of government as to what are the limitations of government, where do you get what, and then by so doing, you are having a government that is engaging with its own people, and that would lessen also the issues of service delivery protest. Yes. And then look, with the kind of government system which is a capitalistic government, it is regrettable that during the struggle we advocated for people to revolt against government, which was good because we wouldn't have been able to overthrow the apartheid government. So the engagement of the masses in terms of making aware of what the government would do, and also what we must also do is for the government to be sensitive to its people. For example, now the conundrum that we are facing, we've got a government that is a boss, yet democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yeah.
So once the government structure is accountable to itself, not to its own citizen, then that is a fertile ground for all of the mayhem that we are facing.
How do you achieve that? Because, I mean, except for the fact that every 5 years you can vote in a different government. So you have to live with them for 5 years, because elections only happens in those blocks.
Okay. How do you achieve a government that is speaking to its own people? You achieve that by, one, indaba, by two, you see, in the similar manner that we do when we campaign. When we campaign, we fill up stadium. We promise people. But what makes us not to be able to do that frequently? For example, the structures of the systems are there. We have managed to set up the administrative structures of government, like your local government, like your provincial government, and also your national government. And then what then you need is to have the government brokers, so to speak, at all spheres, where these people are from time to time showing up their faces to the people and also listening to the issues of the people. By now you've got careerism. Careerism, as long as I'm getting my fair check, I don't mind. You see? So that is the problem we have. Yet if we would aspire for the people that are people-centered, that are servants of the people, that would come even before, you know, it's not necessarily about service delivery. I'm not saying you don't have to do service delivery. It's a must-do. But what people want is to be listened to. Have you got a government that has got an ear for the people? Listen to the people, not to think what they think for them. The people, but let them tell you what is it that they want. For an example, in our inception, I'm sorry to bring that, in 2005, we came as a result of... the
materials.
Yes, thank you very much. So it was the masses of the people that were demanding that let there be, that the material should be under you see, under KZN because of the reasons of resourcing, because it's closer to KZN than Bisho.
Yeah.
You know what happened there, even though the people were saying that, but the government was intransigent. And the powers that be looked at the political interest instead of the interest of the people.
Okay.
So what we need to do, we need to detoxify people from politics of egocentrism, self-interest, from politics of cartelism. We should advocate. In fact, we're advocating for a people-centered government, that the government must be sensitive to its own people. Yes.
Ganief, people are tired, man, of programs and more programs. 2040, no, just jobs and justice. Pick up the trash, put the water in. Please unmute there. I think you're muted.
Your guests are talking about municipal elections. We are busy with provincial and national elections. Now, the reason they're talking about provincial elections, the reason they're not talking about provincial elections and national elections, because they've got nothing to offer. They can only nitpick on municipal matters. So they must start deciding, are they campaigning for 226 or are they campaigning for 224? What I've heard now is they're campaigning for 226. We've heard nothing from Neil. We've heard nothing from the AIC on what they are offering your listeners for the provinces and for national. And so I'm very disappointed. I'm not ready for 226. Let's do the election one thing at a time. Let's focus on 224, which is provincial elections and national elections.
And those are legislatures, and that's the National Assembly.
So
and
when it comes to national elections, it's all about lawmaking.
Regulation, yes, I wanted to come to that.
He told us about one law that he wants to introduce, one bill that he wants to put before Parliament. He hasn't spoken about education and health at provincial level. He speaks about picking up the dirt.
Yes.
So I don't think he's impressed anyone to vote for his party at provincial and national level. They want to hear, what are you going to do at provincial and national level? Don't come and talk about something comfortable like what you're going to do at municipal level, water. Those are important. Electricity, picking up the dirt, mowing the lawns. This is national and provincial elections, isn't it? Don't they realize that that is around the corner?
But
they can only think about municipal elections.
Ganief, though, there's been questions about the regulatory quality, right, that we even have at the national and provincial level. For example, big questions around the rule of law and capturing this perception that we are making laws that are actually working to rid the country of crime and criminal activity and even money being channeled in. That's why we are grey-listed now to fund terrorism and so on and so forth. What is Al-Jama's point of view on that?
Look, as you know, at the moment we are amending the security legislation because in July 2021, the security forces failed us and the ministers were replaced, and we now have the intelligence services in the presidency. So Al-Jama is engaging vigorously with this legislation, and we are very concerned about the fact that they're trying to make the intelligence general inspector a lame duck. So the legislation, security legislation was in the hands of the State Security Agency. They are now going to be disbanded and they're going to be replaced by two new entities. But at the same time, the Constitution says that there must be civilian oversight over intelligence, so we don't have the disaster that we had that came out of the Truth and the Reconciliation commission where there was torture.
Yeah.
So we are engaging the ad hoc committee, and I serve on this ad hoc committee, that the legislation is inadequate because it opens the doors for torture.
Yeah.
It makes the, so that is a type of, we need to also look at the budget of the Defence Force. The Defence Force don't have enough money to keep the country safe. So we're looking forward to the budget speech in February, where we are going to look at whether there's enough money to keep the country safe.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. The two important things that we are concerned at national level, and which obviously, Neil, it's out of his depth. That's why he speaks about municipality matters. We must speak about intelligence. We must speak about defense because we need the country safe. I'm very worried that, people are saying the ANC will no longer be there next year. So that means the Moonshot Pack or the multi-party democracy, they will come. They're going to torture us like they tortured us during apartheid. So the laws, we must make sure that in terms of the constitution, that we have solid legislation, that, for example, that will prevent torture. Because we may feel safe with the African National Congress because they're part of the revolution movement. They understand the hardships we went through. But those who were involved, who actually perpetrated the torture, if they come into power now with the help of Neil, they're going to, we must make sure that they can't torture us. That the constitution requirement that there be civilian oversight and no torture prevails.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the to education, that is a prerogative of provinces. So we are very concerned that many learners are not placed, were not placed this year, and that will happen again next year. We still have toilets. We still have serious deficiencies at basic education level.
Right.
And many students doing higher education are going to be disappointed because of the new changes that the minister wants to bring about. So I was hoping that at this program, parties will talk about provincial matters and national matters, and don't waste your listeners' time by talking about municipal matters.
All right,
we can talk about that in 226.
Let's give them a chance to talk about the national matters. Neil, let's talk about this perception of the extent to which unconstitutional crime fighting interventions are going to be brought into power with the multi-party charter.
You know, Mr. Ganief Hendricks, you have now insulted me 3 times on a national platform, but because you're older than me, I'm now going to give you a little bit of dignity. But let me tell you, as an MK member, retired, as a serving member and veteran of the military, and as a commander within the intelligence structures of this country, I thought a little bit more depth from you. Maybe I should give you my book that came out 2 years ago, where you can then listen to where we, some of us, fought for the struggle, not by voice but by AK. But I will let you slip this time. I don't play party politics with insults. I am here to serve. Now let me tell you, I will take that on the cheek once. But I'm going to correct you. Some of us were prepared to die. Probably you too. But some of us took the front line. We know about torture. We know very much about torture. Because some of us were tortured. Now to sit here and to tell an ex-person that fought in the struggle, who served Madiba, that when I come to power, I will promote torture. You carry a thin line, sir. Now, I'll correct that later with you. We will bump into each other again. But let me correct you. I might not have been in politics, but for 32 years, I stood next to government. You will recall I was a senior advisor to the then Deputy Minister of Defence and Intelligence, Mr. Hendricks. We cannot let be done to us what was done before. Nelson Mandela gave an order, if you can remember. Madiba said, if the ANC does to you, which the apartheid government did to you, then do to them the same, which you did to the apartheid government. I take offense to you not knowing who the hell I am. But let's go to national. I understand national because, as you will not know, I served under the African World Bank as chairman for 6 years. I get it and understand. I didn't get that position because I'm an idiot. I got it because I know foreign direct investment. Billions withdrawn through our channel to promote foreign DI in this country, Mr. Hendricks. Currently, the national bill on intelligence, if you read it, there's a new anti-terror bill which was signed. Now, if you read that document like we did, who come from intelligence, you will probably realize that that document has got a couple of things in it which are incredibly smacking, like the old apartheid government, which I helped destroy. So the bill that we are talking about, which you are saying, you sat in National Assembly, it's a shocking bill to the people of this country. Secondly, we are not about nitty-gritty stuff. We will stand in the national election on 5 basic principles. Corruption, crime, which I know how to fight. Maybe you should Google me. I fight crime. I understand it. People like General Andre Lincoln, General Jeremy Vere, who I served with, can attest to the fact that we need to change the national attitude to crime fighting in this country. Corruption is killing us, and we need to sort it out. Not with people blah-blahing in national government, maar om julle tronk toe te stuur. The people that sit there and that see the current corruption happen, they are just as fault. So national bills, national policies, we have many. My problem is, what have you done for 30 years? What have the people in national parliament, in provincial legislatures, what have you done in 30 years to stop the rot? And you can now argue until the moon comes. You, the people in parliament, you that boast that you are such great politicians, you are the cause and demise of this country's absolute fall over 30 years. State capture under you. 450 billion owed by Eskom. Ports gone. So no, sir. I think it's time that people like me, people like my colleagues that will now stand up, we are the new blood. Thank God there's new brooms coming to come and change the attitude of you who have sat there and let this country go to junk status, be qualified as a grey country, and we can't even get normal funding. Well, let me tell you, Neil de Beer, the UIM, we are coming. We might have 3 councillors in 3 metros, but hear me, God gaan my hoor vandag. The people of this country are tired. They are tired, they want change, they don't want rubbish anymore, they want straight talk, and if I'm the only guy that goes into Parliament, Mr. Hendricks, and I've got one poster on a pole, hear me well, Neil de Beer speaks well. I'm coming with justice, and I'm coming with God, and I'm not going to sit and be insulted or play that politics. Jy meneer, jy gaan mooi verstaan. Ek is nie hier om met jou te beklei nie. I left you, we didn't play party politics, you brought it in. Now that's fine with me. I will keep quiet, and I will go to the poll. Doesn't matter what the effect is, but we are tired, Mr. Hendricks. We are tired of seeing this country falling apart.
Yeah.
In closing, I don't have long in politics. I didn't come in to have a career.
All right.
I have a very good career.
Neil, I've got to give Mr. Hendricks a chance to respond to that.
It's time that we fix the country.
Yeah.
It's time. And I haven't got all the answers, I admit so. But I'll remind Mr. Hendricks, he also started as a small party, and I actually know him. And I congratulate him. I will support him. But we need to stand together. Insults are not going to bring justice and jobs to this.
Mr. Hendricks, I'm completely out of time, but if you can, please wrap it up for us.
No, look, if I said anything that offended Neil, I apologize. Yes, I don't know much about Neil. I don't do research on other politicians. We have our policies. We implement it. I was expecting at this program that we will talk about provincial and national matters or not municipal matters. So maybe I wrongly thought that Neil is out of his depth, that he didn't raise matters at the national or provincial level, and that he focused largely on municipal matters. But, I also respect Neil. We are discussing one another's views here. He is with a coalition that is going to destroy South Africa, and I'm very surprised that he's associated himself with them. They want a return to white rule. They want a return to a Zionist apartheid police state. And so I'm surprised after hearing now what Neil is all about. I have the respect for him, but I'm very surprised that he's associating himself with such people.
Let's leave it there. Unfortunately, because of time, I appreciate you both for coming on. And Rev, thank you very much for coming into the studio with us. All right, what's making news tonight on In Focus when we continue next 10 minutes.